Why do you worry about me putting my thing on the desk here?
Wood.
But yours is...
This is plastic, and it's not condensating on the bottom.
This is plastic, too.
But it's condensating. Condensating? Condensation. See, look all that water. There will be... You leave it there, there will
yours
be a
is,
ring.
too.
See this little thing of goo? That's one of your drinks. Actually, it might be mine. I don't know.
Yeah, because water isn't sticky. Is that cum?
You've had Coke sitting on there, sir. Why would cum be in a circle?
I don't know what you do when I'm not around.
I just paint the walls and furniture with my dick. How we start the episode.
Did you know that there's a whole article with details about Avengers Endgame that tells people when it's okay for them to get up and go to the bathroom during the movie. When it's safe to pee during Avengers Endgame. These people act like they've never seen a 3-hour movie before. It's weird because the length of the movie has become part of the marketing strategy of the movie. It's 3 hours. There's so much Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a thing I saw, I guess it was Friday, maybe it was Thursday. When it's safe to pee during an Endgame. Like, people can't hold it. I know every now and then you got to get up and go to the bathroom. Even I do have to get up and go to the bathroom. And I'm an expert moviegoer. And I still sometimes don't time it right because we rush to the movie or something, and so halfway through I gotta go to the bathroom. And I'd rather miss a minute of the movie than sit there and like worry about having to go to the bathroom the whole time. Like suffer through having to go to the bathroom the whole time. But they're making it like a big deal. Like, was it you that said, I'm getting a small drink? No. Somebody said, I'm gonna go see the movie on Sunday, and I'm getting a small drink that day. Because during Infinity War, I had to piss 3 times. And this is even longer than that. What? What's wrong with people? You can't hold it?
Here's a pro tip. Catheter. You don't have to worry about it at all.
That's only funny because I know who you're talking about.
Probably was prepared for that, maybe. He couldn't hold it.
Hold it. Oh.
Right, so... Oh, I want to talk about Gemini Man. It was a trailer. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the trailers.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'll save the other one. Freaking Gemini Man is, what is it? Will Smith. Like old Will Smith versus young Will Smith.
Yeah.
And he talks weird as the young Will Smith, so he is different. It's a little weird.
It's like his voice was a little bit higher or something.
Well, the way he pronounced words, he was like kind of articulating and being like this. Kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you wanted to say about it? Or?
No, my thinking was, I always put me in those situations, and I'm like, well, what if, how would that work with me? Like, if you had to send me. But I feel like I would be, somehow, they'd have to make me digitally tall, and so I'm like the best assassin, a tall version of me. And then, all that happens, somebody's fighting me, and they know my every move and all that. But it's like, my size. So they cloned me, fucked it up, and ended up with me as I am. So you got the little, hunched, hairy me going after the sexy, tall, muscular me.
Uh-huh.
I think that, what would that be called? It wouldn't be Gemini, would it? What would that be? Me too?
No.
Me and a half? Half of me?
Half of me.
Yeah, instead of...
Why not fight half of me?
I'm half the man I used to be. Yeah, we put all those songs in there. And then they end up teaming up. Because I don't know anything about Gemini Man, but you got two Will Smiths. They're going to team up and say, let's fight the guy together that cloned you.
Maybe they start a rap group together.
Yeah, but maybe they reboot MIB with the young and old Will Smith. Nowadays, they can just digitize everyone.
Yeah. It's amazing how you don't see a whole lot of Will Smith, the young Will Smith, in that trailer, but it is amazing what they're doing, being able to make people young.
Yeah, I think they made the Wall Street guy, what's his name?
Michael Douglas.
He seemed like he looked even younger than they made him.
Yeah, because I don't know about younger, and I don't know about...
Well, they were a few years before...
I don't remember the first Ant-Man, what year that was, but this was 1970, so he had, like, the 70s hair. And it's funny, because he looks like Michael Douglas from the 70s. That's the hair that Michael Douglas had in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but and the old makeup was great, too. Okay, before we get into that, Brie Larson has a movie called, and you should see it... Is it Hulu? I think it's Hulu.
Does she make a face in it?
It might be Netflix. It's called Unicorn Store.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, that was her?
Brie Larson, I'm not sure if I don't think she wrote it, but she directed it and starred in it.
Mm-hmm. It's on Netflix.
Okay. Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah. Dude, I was surprised she was acting in it. I mean, I saw that and I immediately wanted to take back all the stuff I said on before, because like, oh, she can act. She's a pretty good actor. This is a good story.
She's an Academy Award-winning actor.
Yeah.
But in the Marvel thing, she's so stiff and uninteresting.
Yeah. I just wanted to, I don't know. I guess it's not funny, but she can make a face. And Unicorn Store is a good movie. Basically, Samuel L. Jackson is he's not a unicorn salesman, but it's like a wish store, I guess.
Hold on, Sam Jackson's in there with her?
Yeah, he's the guy who owns the store.
Of unicorns.
Of unicorns, yes. Anyways, freaking Brie Larson Unicorn Store. It sounds silly, but watch it. It's good. Samuel L. Jackson's still awesome. And it's a good story, and she directs it well and acts pretty good. Actually, really good. Yeah, so I don't know what happens with the Marvel movies, but she just turns it all off. It's like she loses all interest.
She goes into cardboard mode.
Like she's phoning it in. And like, well, I'm here. What are my lines? Okay, there they are. Can I go now?
Well, this is movieisms.
It's weird because we don't have that. Hey, everybody, quiet on the set.
Yeah, these shows generally start off with just a few minutes of talking,
and then we go, "Hey," and then that starts the show.
This is, in a way, the episode we've been working towards for a year now, because our first episode was on Avengers Infinity War, and now,
back when we started YouTube with our failed first idea.
No, I'm not even talking about that. Our first episode of Movieisms was in Infinity War.
We were birthed on the what's his name? Freaking bald chin Thanos.
He's a dick face. And we've probably talked about Avengers Infinity War
more than any other
Endgame
movie.
More than any other thing, because even when a Marvel movie comes out, we even talk about how it ties into the Avengers stuff.
Yeah.
Like Ant-Man. Oh, and there's a thing, a post-credit sequence that ties into Infinity. It just is all, And we talked about Infinity War for 3 or 4 weeks leading up to this thing. But we talked about also, this is sort of a special episode because you wanted to announce this at the beginning, and I want to wait till the end. But I'm going to let you have your way because I don't want you to pitch a fit. Or pout and act like I never let you have your way.
Well, first of all, we didn't really talk about it or agree on it, but I want to do. First of all, I want to say that I want to free it up, but we can be an hour and a half or 2 hours if we want. It's a special edition. We might not go that long, but
I don't.
I was almost going to say we should invite Cooge and have a 30, but no. Anyway, that would be interesting to have him on for like 30 minutes. The thing about the Marvel is, but anyway. I want to do a spoiler section.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, talk about, I want to do, like, the first part spoiler-free, and then just say, look, everybody, I'm just going to say it. We're going to take a break, and this is going to be it's a season finale, not series, and we're not quitting.
Yeah.
It's just where we need to make some more movies and make some money and do some shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody who listens to the show knows we're filmmakers, and that's how we review. That's the lens with which we review or talk about our movies.
Yeah.
About the movies we see is that we're filmmakers, and we have this show and we have our other show, Film Reverie, which we also do weekly, and between the two of those shows, it's been real hard to get any filmmaking stuff done, and writing, any of that stuff. It just all fills up with particularly my own busy schedule of work and teenager and all that stuff. And then we also have 2 shows every week that have to be churned out. We don't ever get any movies done.
So before you turn this off, just stay tuned, because we got like a special. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a spoiler-free thing, and then we're just gonna go nuts, because everyone has seen. That's I pitched it to you like this: everyone has seen this movie. And by the time this comes out, I feel like 80-90% of the world will have seen it,
or any of the people who are going to see it.
Right. So, I want to have fun. If it's going to be the season finale, I want to talk about everything. So that's what we're doing. So listen to the whole thing. Join us.
So
what we were talking about?
Yeah, we're just gonna we're just gonna take some time off. We don't know how long. We don't know for what or whatever. And ultimately, we kind of wanted, when we first started this show, Movieisms, it was supposed to be something else than what it kind of became.
Yeah.
So we love reviewing movies. I won't even say we love it. It's fun reviewing movies because it gives us an excuse to go see movies and talk about them. But really, what I wanted to do with Movieisms was talk about movies, not review movies. But what we've sort of slipped into go see a movie and review it, go see a movie and review it.
The SEO thing, like we wanted to get views and clicks and all of that. So like, okay, let's put in search terms and keywords, and then it kind of became a chore and not what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right. So when we come back, it'll probably be more of that.
Like the past couple episodes, where we'll talk about a movie we've seen, but then we'll just have general movie discussions.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. We aren't going anywhere.
Movieisms is forever.
If you want to still hear us, we're still, for now, at least for a little while, doing. We're actually taking a break from Film Reverie too, now that I think about it.
For a month.
But not an indefinite break like we are with Movieisms. Yeah. So.
And we're also going to experiment with some live Twitch things in the future.
Yeah.
With Film Reverie, where we might... one of the things we want to do is watch movies like live and have people watch them. Have the audience watch it with us, and then we comment whatever and just have fun. I guess it's like an online watch party or something.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Something like that. Anyway, we're just going to play around over the summer and try different things. And so stay tuned for that. What we could do is we can come back, have a special Movieisms episode where we announce what the hell we're doing once we figure that out. How about that?
Okay.
Yay. See?
The big Avengers Endgame. This is... I don't think Marvel knew what they were doing 10 years ago when they started doing this. I don't know that they intended to... I don't know that they were sitting there going, then in 2019 we're going to have this movie called Endgame, where everything falls into place and everything is sort of completed in a way.
And the quantum interlinks and...
Yeah, I don't think they knew exactly. However, they have been great at executing a plan that worked towards this movie.
Yeah.
And this is what they're calling the Infinity Saga. This is the conclusion of the Infinity Saga.
Yes.
So,
how do we...
So first we're going to talk about the movie, what we thought about it without any spoilers.
We're going to have to be vague.
Which we realize is really hard because even the trailer doesn't really show much from the movie that's not the first 30 or 45 minutes because they don't want to spoil anything. However, if you use your brain just a little bit, you know that, and we've talked about this on the show before, not everybody is dead. You know, you just know that. I feel like people know that going in.
Yeah.
Because there's already Spider-Man movies coming out. They're already talking about, Black Widow spin-off movie finally after, what, like 8 years of, anyway. But we're going to try to be vague as possible, just talking about our general thoughts on the movie, and then we'll get into some spoilers. I'm less interested in talking about spoilers for this than you, but there's plenty to talk about.
I want to nerd out.
There's plenty to talk about.
And with most of the population having seen it, I want them to nerd with us.
Right. Well, your general reaction to the movie was what?
I tried to temper it, but I said... I want to see it again before I commit to this, but I think it's my second favorite movie of all time.
Of all time.
Matrix being number one, you can't beat it. It's the best movie.
Yeah. You don't even have to see Matrix again to know that that's your favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. My reaction to the movie was kind of like my reaction to what I thought my reaction might be going into it. Infinity War, I was a lot more... kind of blown away. I was a lot more cynical about the movie before it came out. I'm like, there's 27 movie superheroes in it and blah, 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 blah. And then when we saw it, I was like, for a movie that could have been as much of a train wreck as that thing was, it was really good. And I think I saw that movie 3 times in the first week it was out because I saw it with you, and then I saw it with my daughter, and then my daughter wanted to see it again, so we went to see it again. So I saw it 3 times in like the first week. This movie is, I was a lot more, my reaction to it at the end was a lot more ambivalent than I expected to be. It is, in my opinion, very good, like very well-made movie.
You're not as invested as us nerds or we nerds.
I'm really not. But I was excited to see this movie. I wanted this movie to be good. I wanted to see it. So I was when it was over, I was just kind of like, yeah, that was good. It was, I mean, it's 3 hours long. It does not feel like a 3 hour long movie. It feels long, but not like, oh my God, this 3 hours movie. It feels like long because there's a lot happening in it. Not long because it feels slow in any way.
Yeah, the characters are always. I think it's a highly character motivated story because the characters are they're acting how they feel after the devastating thing that happened in the first one.
After the Thanos.
Yeah, everyone, the entire movie is doing what you expect, what you know their characters to be. And after the tragedy, what you expect them to do. I mean, there's one character that all the way to the end is still a sad sack. Like the entire movie, and it was funny. It's one of the highlights of the movie, and one of the reasons it never got boring, because you always had him moping around and, being... Anyway.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't. Whenever, if they're not actively going somewhere and doing something, then they're experiencing an emotion or being funny. It's never a boring moment.
Part of the entertaining part of this particular movie is kind of what you were just saying, is watching people who are extraordinary superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Go through trauma.
Like they're normal.
Like they're normal every day. There's a scene with a support group, and you got Captain America sitting there talking to a support group, talking about before we gotta stick together, and he's still doing
gotta move on.
He's still doing his Captain America thing, but in a support group, as if he's a regular person. It's almost like like Thanos Anonymous, and that scene's not necessarily funny, but it is funny to think about how they are human beings, except with the exception of Thor. They're still all human beings.
Yeah.
Thor is a humanoid, but he's not a human. He's like a god or something,
Right.
So he doesn't really fall into that category. But the way he deals with the whole thing is also very entertaining. Like the way he deals with the fallout from the stuff. It doesn't feel long. Everybody's making a big deal about how long it is. It feels long, but it doesn't ever feel like it never gets boring.
It feels long when you walk out and you look at the time, and it feels like it's an hour and a half longer than
right.
expected.
Right. We walked in our movie theater at 9:30 and came out, and it was 1:15. After trailers and the 3 hours of the movie.
Like we went to the Quantum.
Right. We were in time space, not space time. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually we joke about the Quantum, but at one point, one of them said,
"We're going quantum."
Yeah.
We're going quantum. It's like
you can't go quantum. You can't go to quantum, and you can't go quantum. Activate quantum. I don't even think that they know what they're talking about half the time. They just throw the word quantum in, like you said, and everyone's brain is trained. Oh, I don't understand that. It's just science magic. Yeah. Or as Thor says, space magic.
It is a little bit of like Star Trek when they just throw out techno jargon that doesn't make any... Yeah. There's no science behind it. There's just words that sound fancy.
Yeah. That was a great moment that Thor had when the... what is it? Bruce Banner and... what's his name? Stark... are they're trying to talk about how you can and can't do certain things, and... there's a certain person that we can't save. And Thor's like, we're talking space magic. What do you mean we can't? With these gems and snapping fingers and you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great because what they're saying makes sense. You're like, yeah, you can't do that. But then Thor comes in with space magic, and then you kind of... your brain says, yeah, it is space magic.
The term space magic is hilarious, just all by itself. So it's satisfying, it's entertaining, it is the conclusion. Now, for me...
I want to say it's a nerd's wet dream.
Right, well, for you to say... Well, what you said to me when you said that other stuff about it being your second favorite movie, you said that it's like a love letter to comic book fans. Why do you feel that? Is that more of a spoilery question, or can you say that now?
I can be vague in the way I was vague with you before we saw it. But I want to say most of the things that we nerds have been saying, oh, I wish I could see this, I wish I had that. Oh, they give it to you.
So why is this movie a love letter to comic book fans that Infinity War wasn't?
I think they're the same movie. I mean... Okay.
So you think Infinity War...
Part 2.
But why wasn't Infinity War your second favorite movie of all time?
Well, because they still didn't have a lot of those things.
There's so...
there's a lot of things that were introduced. Well, for example, like, Hulk was... what do you call it? I don't want to say...
You can't say anything about Hulk yet. Oh, yeah.
The Hulk, first movie... Yeah. No Hulk, and that was in all the Avenger movies, and he wasn't in Civil War, but I mean, just Hulk is just hilarious and great. And to go the whole Infinity War with no Hulk, and and we got a tiny bit of Iron Spider. You really didn't get to see Iron Spider do much of anything. Didn't get him, so there are a lot of things that was like, I wish I could see this. I wish I could see that. I wish someone else got the gauntlet, or
Do you feel like I don't know when the movie was written, when the script was written for this? Was it? I don't think it was written at the same time as Infinity War. They must have had a plan based on their Infinity War, and then they knew they were doing a part 2.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they took all the audience response to Infinity War and said, "Okay, we'll put that in here," or if they just knew, and they just knew that was just part of how they were telling their 4-hour story.
I feel like they. You're saying before or after, like before or after Infinity War,
right?
Before all that cool stuff.
Before Infinity War came out and had the audience reaction, asking for some of those things,
right?
Or do you feel like they? I don't know when the script was written. I think the script was. Well, the script wasn't written because they were working on Infinity War up until when Infinity War came out. So they were still. They must have known what they were going to do.
They had an outline. Because, they have all these movies that are connecting to it.
Yeah.
I feel like, I want to say 90% they had it already planned out, or they had gotten the fan feedback and made their decisions. It's possible that they reshot or shot a couple things to throw in after Infinity War and they got some feedback.
Yeah. Well, Infinity War, Endgame wasn't shot yet. They didn't shoot it. They shot it. They shot it as a part 2.
I mean, as you and I are filmmakers, you said that earlier. As filmmakers, we're influenced up until the very production day where we're shooting a scene. Things can change. So I feel like, some of those things had to have been added after. But I feel like they already had a really good grasp on what everyone wanted.
I definitely think that the Russo brothers, who have directed the best of the Marvel movies, starting with, I think their first film was Winter Soldier, which is still my favorite story. Like, when I watch Winter Soldier, I'm like, this is so good.
And then Civil War was like,
the Civil War I didn't like as much.
Yeah, but it had
it had all the great moments.
All those scenes.
What they've done, maybe it's just my own sensibility or my own taste. Like, I thought Civil War was a great movie, but I didn't like it very much. You know what I mean? I came out of there like my excitement for the movie was muted just a little bit. In Civil War, when Captain America was fighting. When Captain America was fighting Iron Man, I never really felt like they were going to hurt each other. You know what I mean? Like, they can't really do any damage to each other. Not because they're superheroes, but because they need them for the next movie.
Also, they're both goody two-shoes, and they wouldn't really hurt each other.
Yeah, so what are they doing? Why are we have half of the movie built up on something that I know, I'm sitting here going, there's no way they're going to hurt each other. Now,
that whole movie, everyone was just pitching fits.
In Infinity War, when you started to lose people, and you started hearing things, they almost leaked that people's contracts were up as like they're preparing the audience for that people are going to start to die for real. And then you're sitting there going, now that whole thing that has nothing to do with the story itself actually does have me thinking maybe people will actually die in this. And that, in my mind, let me off the hook so I could start to say, well, maybe Captain America will bite the bullet here. Or maybe Iron Man will bite the bullet in this and, won't come back. So the stakes were risen pretty good. Mm-hmm. Even though... Well, that wasn't Infinity War. That was my reaction to... That was Endgame. Maybe people will actually die. Because you start hearing about people's contracts being up. So that wasn't Infinity War. Because my reaction to Infinity War was, they're not going to... acts,
Yeah.
a billion-dollar
Like, everyone's
franchise.
coming
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
But you just don't. You don't really know, and we can't really say because spoilers.
Yeah.
But as a 3-hour story, you said the movie because you saw it twice already. You saw it midnight opening night,
opening day, which was a great decision. It was so. By the way, the theater was like. I wish I had thought about talking about this earlier at the beginning of the show because, man, it was an experience. It was like going to a convention.
Were there people dressed like Iron Man?
Yes,
Yeah,
full
okay.
costume, makeup. We went to the AMC Disney.
Yeah.
What is it called? Disney Springs? I
Disney
can never
Springs.
remember the new thing they call it. Yeah, I mean, every movie was like, I want to say 85% of maybe 90% of the theater was Avengers, and then the other two were Marvel movies. Like, they still had Shazam and Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, the 24. It was like a 24.
The whole theater was Marvel.
Yeah, that's a multiplex with 24 theaters. You're
Yeah.
saying the whole thing was.
Yeah, except for Little and maybe one other
Did
theater.
you see it in their big, huge cinema?
No, there's no need to. I mean, you and I have our thing with 3D. If I'm gonna watch
hold on. Was that also a 3D movie? Yeah, I wouldn't have gone if it was a 3D.
It was everything,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
The extreme or whatever, all the different things. It was all of it.
Yeah, I think they call it Disney XD.
Yeah,
is what
there's
they call it.
XD and then digital and then.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So was it raucous? Were people enthusiastic? Like it's like
Yes.
watching a Rocky movie, cheering on him beating the Russian and all that stuff.
yeah,
yeah.
because I watched it with a nerd friend of mine, and me and the audience were like clapping out
Mm-hmm.
loud when we love something's happening, and the whole crowd will go "Aw" together, and it was just like we're all one.
But the group we saw it with last night,
They were all used.
So,
They're
not.
sucking the energy
No,
out.
hold on. They weren't me because I just feel like they weren't as enthusiastic viewers. Like that, maybe what we got were a group of these were people who pre-ordered tickets because this theater was sold out the day before. We were lucky to get two tickets.
Was it Tuesday? I was trying to get tickets for, or was it? It was Monday or Tuesday. I was trying to get tickets for Thursday, and they were all sold up until 12:45. And then I told you, hey, if we're gonna get a ticket this weekend, and then by the time you got to it, you couldn't find anything until Sunday, I think.
So they weren't me because we had. I was trying to enjoy the movie.
I'm just razzing you because.
But they were definitely more subdued. They weren't as enthusiastic watchers. However, people cheered when good things happened, and I don't know about the sighing when bad things happen, but people were cheering on when so and so showed up, and stuff like that.
I was the most audible and excited in that audience, and I had already seen it.
Well,
I wasn't the most audible.
Right, because the person next to you was fucking narrating the whole thing.
That's another thing we should have talked about at the beginning. Because I want to complain for about 5 minutes on...
I do not know...
What the hell?
Why... First of all, the movie was on for like 5 minutes, and I looked at you and said, does that guy know the movie started? Because he has not stopped talking yet.
Normal level, like we're talking
now. He's like, yeah, see, that's so-and-so, and he did that because... The woman...
It's like she'd never seen
next
a movie
to him
before.
had never seen... It was like, why would you bring someone to Marvel Avengers Endgame on really basically opening night? It had only been out for, Thursday night was opening night. And she'd never seen any of the other movies before.
At least it's what it sounded like to us, because he had to explain everything.
Talked the entire time.
Yeah.
And at the end, he apologized for only one moment when he was laughing so hard at the person he was with because she thought Thor was Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so for 3 hours we had to listen to you talk and we're supposed to just Oh, that's a funny anecdote. She thought it was Brad Pitt.
We're friends now.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
good.
But
Dude, listen, hold on. I got a list. I made a list. All right. At the very beginning, there's a quick little scene where we saw Hawkeye. What Hawkeye was doing when the snap happened.
yeah,
Okay? There's one scene at the beginning. Then, 5 years later, right, comes up on the title. He reads it aloud. He says, 5 years later, to her. Like she can't read it. He's one of those
This is 5 years
people.
later. You can tell, now you can tell, see, that what we were just watching was from 5 years ago. Now this is 5 years later.
Right.
It's 5 years have gone by.
So it's not now, but it's in the future. But yeah. And then, was it not Gamora? Who's the purple one?
Nebula?
Nebula.
Yeah, because Gamora is dead.
Right. So the next scene she's in, and he says, yeah, she's not from Earth. Like they're in a spaceship in space.
Hold on a second. This is a robot woman.
A robot woman, and he has to explain to her
She's not from Earth.
she's not from Earth.
None of these people are from Earth. Captain America, well, not none of them, but Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, like most of the people aren't from Earth. She's not from Earth.
You couldn't tell. And then everybody's brooding and all that stuff, and then he goes, he mad. She shouldn't have done that. He's all pissed. Like, what? You can't. How do you not? Can you not tell? And then they looked at a picture of Peter Parker, and he goes, "Yeah, that's Spider-Man." Like the whole time. And then she's talking about Brad Pitt. I thought she recognized me, and because all I heard was Brad. And so when he told us at the end about the Brad Pitt thing, I was like, "Oh, so she doesn't know me."
Right, and I heard you say that, but I didn't know that that's what you thought. But I can picture her going, "You thought I was talking about you? You don't look anything like Brad Pitt."
Yeah, but here's the thing with that: it was a African American couple beside us. How can you not tell? Like, my thing is, do white people all look the same to black people? Because how can you not tell that's not Brad Pitt? It's odd, where's the similarity? You can't explain it. I think she was racist. That's just my opinion.
Do white people all look alike to black people? How could you tell that's not Brad Pitt?
Yeah. It's freaking Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, man.
Anyway, hilarious.
Who, by the way, I would have. Well, I can't say that because that would be a spoiler.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in a minute.
Yeah. That's basically our non-spoiler review of Avengers Endgame. Ultimately, you want to see it. If you like these movies at all, if you're interested at all, it's at this point it doesn't even really matter if you like them or not. It's literally a cultural moment. It's like it's FOMO if you don't go see it.
You have to, if you've seen one Marvel movie, just about every Marvel movie, maybe every other Marvel movie connects to this movie in some way.
Yeah, somehow.
So if you've seen any one of those, you have to see this. And by the way, the numbers say everyone has seen this.
Yeah, the movie's going to make... They've projected that it's going to make around $800 million in the first week.
I think it's going to be...
And I actually, just to see it happen, I'd like to see it make $1 billion.
I think it's going to. It's just...
Opening weekend, it already had, I think it was $300 million worth of pre-sales. And then it also released in Asia this week.
Yeah.
And then America. So we were the only place that it hadn't opened.
The last time I saw... I had a movie experience anywhere close was episode 1, when we were all still hopeful of, Star Wars. Give us more Star Wars. And then,
I will say that the buzz about this movie was out, and everybody was talking about it, but they didn't hit us with a million previews or trailers where it shows this and shows that. There's really
They didn't
only
show us anything.
there was a teaser. There was a teaser trailer that just showed Tony Stark a while back, and then there was the black and white trailer with red, like that we talked about last week, and then there was a TV trailer. That was it. Everything else has been word of mouth buzz, like articles about it or reviews or hey, the Black Widow and Hawkeye got their hands cemented in front of the Chinese theater in Hollywood, stuff like that. Buzz things like that. And so I'm glad that I didn't have to avoid watching trailers so that I didn't have to have things like momentarily spoiled for me in a way.
Yeah, because even on this show, when we talk about a movie, we assume that everyone has seen the trailer. So we will talk about spoilers in the way that if you haven't seen the trailer, we're kind of spoiling it for you. But they did such a good job of. That's one of our pet peeves is we hate it when a trailer like tells the whole movie and then it's like what I already know what's going on. So I enjoyed not having any information.
You will be when you go if you have not seen it yet. How could you be? However, there are some people that don't like to go to the movie theater with big crowd of people.
Yeah,
one of my students is dying to see it, but they're waiting till next week. They just didn't want to be in the. I get that. I get it. This movie-going experience was... It is weird that it wasn't completely ruined. That guy was talking the whole time. But remember when we tried to watch The Nun that time? And people were just like... It was like a party environment in the theater.
Didn't we leave because we
left.
couldn't...
Yeah. We left because we couldn't hear anything for the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Somebody was watching something on their iPad... And there was a conversation happening right beside us.
And the teenagers were just running around in the theater like it was a playground. It wasn't that. People were tuned into the movie. The movie, it's weird because I'm watching it. The story it's a well-told story, and how they deal with the Thanos fallout is a little bit of both things that we talked about, but also other stuff. Remember what we talked about last week? We're like, is it going to be a time travel this or going to whatever you said? Whatever you said. It's a little bit of what we speculated about over the years, but also other things that we didn't see coming or didn't expect. It is told it's a very well told story because it doesn't feel predictable, even though for a year we've been sitting here speculating and we know certain characters aren't really gone,
right?
And I can only say that because I've been saying it for a year.
By the way, we did a good job of not talking this long and not spoiling it because we talked a long time. Because from the first I want to say 20 minutes in is a thing that we can't talk about because but the movie just starts as it shows you how the rest of the movie's going to be, and then it's that way from the rest. I mean, it sets the pace early. Yeah,
and it does not feel like a 3-hour movie. It really doesn't feel like a 3-hour. There's a lot happening. So, one of the things that's hard to do is it feels like they didn't have enough time for certain things in this movie, and it's only 3 hours because they trimmed it down. We can talk about it in spoilers, but there's so much that has to happen because they're wrapping up the story arc from like 10 years worth of movies.
Right.
How could you make that only 3 hours? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they could have made a whole other Avengers movie, part 3, whatever they want to call it, and it could have been another 2.5 hour movie with stuff that they just sprinkled in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had a whole nother movie where they're playing hot potato with the Infinity Gauntlet, and you're seeing like different people's versions of how things should be, and I mean that would be a whole fun little thing. Yeah, they could have. So
that is our spoiler-free section. You want to see it. It's 3 hours long, but it really is a satisfying story from beginning, middle, and end. stuff happens you don't expect, stuff happens you're not counting on that caught me off guard. It's like, oh shit, right, And it's entertaining and funny, and the characters. There are moments with Tony Stark in this movie. He's better in this movie as Tony Stark than he's been in a long time.
Yeah.
They spent some time on Tony Stark, where he wasn't just like coming up with a whiz kid idea and throwing a bunch of money and suddenly there's a new Avengers suit, blah, blah, blah. But they spent time on his character of Tony Stark that really was touching, and we'll talk about it in spoilers.
Also, there's women empowerment is like to the max in this movie. Like you're gonna have a moment where you're like, yes, go girls, Charlie's Mutant Angels or something like that. It was great.
So that's that. We're gonna go into spoilers. So
let's spend a minute making sure everyone. Pew pew pew.
If
warning.
you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, that's the one that's out in April of 2019. If you have not seen Avengers Endgame, and you don't want to be spoiled,
stop listening.
Stop listening now.
Boom. Boom, boom.
Okay. Spoilers.
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
That was stupid. All right, man.
It's our last episode for a while. We don't care anymore.
All right, we got to run through this shit.
All right, so
fucking
Professor Hulk, I know you want to talk about.
Yeah, Nerdgasm, man.
Which
I've been talking about for feels like 2 years.
You've been telling me about Professor Hulk for a long time.
I've been like, we need Professor Hulk. We were talking about Thor Ragnarok, and I'm like, oh, we're getting close. We're getting there. We need to, And even when Infinity War came out, I was like, all right, man, Bruce and Hulk have to talk, because otherwise we're not going to have anything.
So we didn't get that scene where they talked, but he just showed up as Professor Hulk.
It could have been a movie, but they just gave up on Hulk movies because they got screwed.
By the way, it looks so good. Professor Hulk looks... I think I leaned you at one. I leaned over you at one point and said the Professor Hulk thing looks incredible, without even thinking that they call him the Incredible Hulk. I said the Hulk is incredible, but
even the
shave, like the stubble on his chin, the expressions in his eyes, it looks like Mark Ruffalo. It's alienating almost, because you hear his voice and it's so well done, and better than like when we saw Alita. Remember when we saw Alita and her face was really good, expressive and everything, but she was still stiff in parts. Hulk isn't stiff. I don't know what they're doing, but those Marvel guys have their shit figured out, because the CGI element to their stuff is better than anyone else is doing it right now. It's fucking good.
Oh yeah.
But it's also funny seeing him as Professor Hulk, because you're not used to the Green Giant being the thoughtful. Well, what do you think about this? Yeah, it was great. It was. I loved watching him.
He gave Ant-Man 2 of his tacos because his taco got blown away from the ship.
Right. That was funny, because I'm a taco lover, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching and the taco gets blown away, and he's just sitting here looking at it like that
with the empty shell.
With the empty shell, and the Hulk just walks out and just hands it to him. There you go, man. It's like, here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
And so Hulk walking around isn't as believable. It looks like a CGI character walking around, but his face, they spend so much time getting his face so perfect. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about in the first 20 minutes? The part that spoiled, or you're talking about Thor?
Part of it, but dude, Thanos, right at I think they have...
Oh, shit. Yeah.
They have the Hawkeye scene, and then go right to let's kill Thanos.
Yeah.
And freaking Thor comes in and says, I went for the head. I mean, we didn't expect it.
Didn't expect it. It was not gory, but it was more violent than you'd ever seen, really, in an Avengers movie that I can think of. There's a lot of intense action, what they would call PG-13 action in Avengers movie, and it's properly motivated. These guys you believe the fact that if they might come to the point where they have to kill Thanos, but it's totally not expected in the first act of the movie.
Yeah, we're just learning about what happened with the Infinity Stones.
He beheads him with an axe. That was like, holy shit! You're right. You don't. And
everyone in the group was looking at him like, "What did you do?
Where did that come from?"
Yeah,
yeah. Thor's generally this jovial, like, Norse god. Like, why are you cold blood murdering Thanos, axing him in the head?
The characters were so solid.
Yeah.
But I mean, by the way, most of my life when I'm watching these kind of creative movies, these superhero movies, and all that, there are always these letdown moments where, like, in the past, a Thanos character wouldn't have destroyed the stones. Because the writers are trying to get us to a certain place and they want to do certain things. Mm-hmm. But to have Thanos, which is exactly what you would have done. You want to fix the universe and you don't want anyone to, you got a time stone there, someone could take it, go back in time. So you destroy the stone. What I did, it's done. You can't undo it. That's exactly what Thanos would do. And it was so satisfying as a
but also scary because he...
Yeah, like what now?
What I like about Thanos is when he talks, what he's saying makes perfect sense.
It's not
all the time.
Yeah,
it's not like villain. It's
right.
not like villain
monologuing
blah,
blah,
stuff.
Blah.
The stuff he's talking about and he's also he is pretty righteous in a way because what he said was the stones represented temptation.
Right.
At like an obsession with control or power or whatever, so I had to get rid of them. So I wasn't, and it nearly killed me to do so. So when he destroyed the stones, first of all, what it means for the rest of the movie is like, what the fuck are they going to do now?
Yeah,
because those stones were the answer to the thing, But that's great storytelling also because the writers knew that the stones actually represent storytelling cop-outs that could happen over and over and over again. So they got rid of them.
Right. Magic button.
It's like, here's this whole open universe over here because of these stones. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a box that has nothing to do with those stones. And you have to figure out how to get out of the box.
So you guys get out of the box, yeah.
Time heist.
By the way, just the whole entire movie, Paul Rudd... He just, it was between him and Thor about just so enjoyable through the movie.
He's so much better. What I like,
everything he says.
What I like about the Russo brothers' versions of Marvel movies is they take the characters and do them better than they're done in their own movies.
Yeah,
like Thor is better in this movie than maybe not better than Thor Ragnarok, because he was great in Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok wasn't very good in my opinion, but he was great in the movie. But Spider-Man, the way they're like, this is what Spider-Man should be like, and we like, okay, next.
Spider-Man was Spider-Man. Thanos was Thanos. Thor was Thor. And by the way, the fact that they know personalities and characters so well that is how Thor would react. Yeah. Because we've talked about personalities, happy...
You mean Lebowski Thor?
Oh, yeah, the dude.
The dude.
I just have to throw this in there real quick before I forget. Dude, when he Thored up to, armor and all that, his beard went in the twist.
It looked like a donut.
Yeah.
Like one of those, like, if it's like a French braided donut.
French braided, it's such a small little thing, but it makes me wonder, okay, what are the mechanics of how that works? He does magically gets the thing, and then the little magical elves twist his braid. Does he decide, I want a bearded...
Just want to do with my beard? Yeah, so is that from the comics? Is that look from the comics?
I've never seen that. I think they're just playing around with his huge beard.
Right, so...
In his gut. The whole movie, even when he started feeling good, he didn't get rid of the beard.
He's hilarious, yeah. Well, he didn't have time to.
Yeah.
Once it got started, it got started.
The Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Asgardians. Tony Stark was amazing with that little girl. She was adorable.
I kept talking about how good she was.
She's adorable and cute and all that stuff, but he was so good with her.
Yeah.
And it really has nothing to do with the movie. Like, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with. I mean, it sets character, like you were talking about. It's a character element.
She was reminding me of the kid from Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Every moment I was with that kid, I'm loving it. Like, I don't need the superhero shit. What this kid is doing is great.
Yeah, and his interaction with her, where he's just playing a dad, and it was so believable and charming and sincere. And here it is in the middle of a 3-hour like comic book epic. You know, it's just two people like basically having a life, living their life together.
Yeah,
and you understood when Tony Stark, because of that. You understood why he didn't want to go back into it all, because he loved his life too much.
Yeah, that's another point on the great writing and the great characters. He said, "Look, we can bring everyone back, but we're not redoing things. I'm not losing what I have here.
Yeah,
you know, we're not going to rewrite the past. We'll bring it. You know," he said, "I'll do this, but this way, we're keeping what we have."
Uh-huh. So we talked about time in our last episode.
Yeah.
And you said whatever you said about time travel, but
a friend of ours was talking about I don't.
He's been on our show before and wanted to know if your brain was.
I
broken.
just want to tell you,
the fry cook wants to know if your brain was broken.
I understood everything.
Yeah,
like I knew what Mike was saying, but I was just expressing my frustration over how everyone does time travel in movies.
But what I want to know is, did they do the time part?
No. They did it great. They explained it what I feel is the correct way in this movie, where if you go back, you're creating a new timeline, so you can't undo. That's the whole thing they were talking about.
So if you go back in time, the premise to this movie's version of time travel, right?
Yeah.
Is if you go back in time and kill yourself, you don't disappear.
Correct, because your original timeline is.
And then who was it that said, "So what? Back to the Future is just bullshit"?
Yes.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Yes, I mean that is. You don't.
They even there's a moment in this movie where they sit there and they argue about all the time travel movies. Hold on. So you're telling me every movie I've ever seen, Back to the Future,
Terminator,
all this
Cop,
stuff,
Time
blah,
After
blah, blah,
Time,
blah, blah, all this stuff that's just bullshit. And they're like, yeah, basically. And then again, they finished the talk about the quantum this, quantum that, and then he goes, "So wait a minute, you're telling me that Back to the Future is bullshit?" He still can't get over it. He still can't get over it.
Yeah. So yes, they didn't do that whole trope where you get to the time machine and you realize, oh, all the things that happened to me in the movie, I did, and now I have to go back and redo them again. I hate that. So, yes, they didn't do it.
But you love Back to the Future.
As a story, it's great, but everything in it is not.
I mean,
like fading in the picture.
Yeah.
If you didn't exist, that picture wouldn't. Anyway, you don't just fade. There wouldn't be a gap because you didn't exist. So, you know what I'm saying? The gap where you're in between two people. There wouldn't be a gap there. They wouldn't. Anyway. None of that makes sense, but it's a great story. So many people say it's the best time travel movie, and I will not argue that. It is one of the best stories ever told. It's a classic.
But you think it's bullshit?
No, the time travel.
Well, the movie is a time travel movie.
The logic is illogical.
Yeah. But this movie, so I mean, we actually have Nebula shoot her
right, which wouldn't
former
work
version
if it was a singular timeline.
Because she would be dead. She would die. Yeah, and they even talk about. So this is actually a pretty smart.
Yeah.
This is actually what you're right. I mean, you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you about the reality of time travel.
Yeah.
Reality with air quotes, because there's really no such thing yet. But,
right.
Well, I say yet, but in the quantum space, I mean, in the quantum time isn't
linear.
Time isn't linear. So somewhere out there, there is time travel.
By the way, I have to quote. I don't know if I'll quote Hulk exactly, but he said it's either all a joke or it's not. You know, there's no in between. because she thought he was joking. He's like, I don't know if I'm joking. It's just time travel. It's either all bullshit or it's all, super important. I don't
You're
know.
talking about the Doctor Strange lady?
No, when they turned Ant-Man into a kid, he didn't know whether the old him or the baby him peed his pants.
Right. He comes back and he's like, somebody peed my pants. It was either, I don't know if it was old me or young me, or maybe it was just me. Maybe it was just me.
Yeah, and also, just real quick on that, Tony Stark said he predicted that they would mess it up. And he said that time travel... no. Time happened to him. You didn't send him through time. You sent time through him. And that was a perfect way of explaining, complicated principles and what was going on there. They sent time through him because they didn't have enough power to send him through time. So that was interesting.
So it's Hulk. Professor Hulk goes back to talk to... I can't think of her name. The time stone lady before Doctor Strange, the 5 years ago Doctor Strange lady who was protecting bald,
yeah, who's supposed to be Asian but she's not, but yeah.
He shows up and says Doctor Strange, and she says, you're 5 years early if you're looking for Doctor Strange. Like, she already knows.
She had the time stone on her.
She had the time stone on her. So her explanation of the split, basically the multiverse, we're talking about, like, if you do that and don't get the stone back to me, it's catastrophic for my timeline.
And she said you're going to create all kinds of, well, she might not have said it, but someone else said you could create all kinds of messed up timelines if you don't bring those stones back. And
they did visually so well, showed the splintered off timeline that was what would be, and it visually represent. You and I have talked about this a lot, and we've actually recently I've been thinking a lot about the quantum time and all that stuff, and you obviously always have, because you're some
since the 2000s.
Since the 2000s, we're still in the 2000s.
Maybe it's the 90s, because you said you started watching What the Bleep Do We Know that I've been talking about, and you said, dude, that's dated. No, and I'm like, whoa.
I think What the Bleep Do We Know came out in 2002 or 5 or something like that. Yeah,
but it's so long ago.
But I don't know if, I mean, that whole audience watching might have had half comic book nerds who know that the quantum time thing, and then the rest of them were just maybe general movie audience people who haven't really thought about, like, time travel scientifically or realistically or believably. So they might be sitting there going, what do they mean Back to the Future is bullshit? What they're talking about? He's disappearing in the picture because he was about to mess up his mission. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but their visual representation of it, just because she's magical, she's able to do the thing, it painted the picture really well. And the conversation they have was so smart.
Right. It was simplified intelligence.
And smart, right there in the middle of a 3-hour comic book epic. Right. You know what I mean? About, like, basically the multiverse, M theory, string theory, string theory.
Even when Tony Stark did the thing, you could see what visual representations of, like, M theory and string theory as he's looping that thing around.
I do think it's hilarious that he had this computer run the model and everything, and then when he talked to Pepper Potts, he goes, I figured it out. He didn't figure it out. The fucking computer figured it out. But he's like, I figured it out. And I was thinking, wait a second. You revisionist history over here. That computer figured it out for you. You told it to run a thing on this, and it did, and it goes,
change this.
I figured it out. I figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe since he invented the computer and the AI, maybe he still considers it a part of him.
He decided to change the thing and then run the simulation, so he...
That's true. Yeah. It was just a mathematical equation that he didn't have to do because the computer did
exactly.
it. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. What else? The only thing I wanted more of, who is my favorite characters in this Avengers stuff, is Scarlet Witch.
Oh, she kicked ass.
I love her, and she kicked ass, but she was in like one scene.
Yeah.
She was in more than one scene, but she showed up, you know, and then then the movie, she showed up so close to the end of things that I like Elizabeth Olsen. I have liked her since I saw her in a movie called Martha May Marcy May Marlene is the name of the movie.
That's not the one with the ghost story?
No. That's the
that
one.
One was good.
That's the one that she like became known for, was Martha Marcy May Marlene, and she plays somebody that gets sort of pulled into like a convent, like a cult.
Right.
And
okay, I haven't seen that.
She's great in it, and one of the things I have lamented over the years, and you've heard me say this a bunch of times, is the Marvel movies or these superhero movies get all these great actors, and then you don't ever really get to see them be as great as they are, because the Marvel movies or like popcorn entertaining movies don't really afford the movie a lot of time to have great acting moments.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
the Disney contracts are so like take over their lives that I'm happy. I'm so happy for all the actors that now get to be free.
Yeah.
Signed all the things at the end credits, and you're like, okay, bye, enjoy your lives.
They've been paid handsomely for their time, and they really have. If you sign up for a Marvel thing, it's like you're going to be in every Marvel movie that comes out in the next 5 years.
And they control your like you got to eat rice and chicken and shit and work out, and you got to look. The whole 10 years. I mean, they couldn't eat a donut. I'm sure they got to, but you know what I mean. It's just
And the thing is, working hard and long hours like that is counterproductive to being physically fit.
Yeah.
When you're working 12, 14, 15 hours a day, even if you're sitting around a lot of it, especially even if you're sitting around a lot of it, your body, it's like, because we made a film. I gained 20 pounds when we made our film, and I wasn't eating because we were so busy. I didn't eat the whole time we were making our movie. I mean, we had 9 really long days, but I got pudgy and soft because it was just your body. You're not sleeping much. Your body is not repairing itself.
When you do eat, it's stress eating.
Yeah, and you're stress eating. You might have a bag of chips from the craft service table. Anyway, it's really hard to be one of those characters. I realize they get paid well and they're famous and all that stuff, but it is hard work. And the fact that Robert Downey Jr. has been doing it for as long as he has is an impressive thing, that he's not 300 pounds right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you saw him first, when you first saw him at the beginning of the movie, he was so like basically looked like Captain America in the first Captain America, where he was all like Tiny Tim.
Man, and his chest. I kept looking at his chest, like all sunken in and bony.
Again, the CGI work or the visual effects work is so believable. He looked like he was starving to death,
like skin and bones.
Skin and bones. Yeah. It's why is it that they do it so well, and then you see like a DC movie and the graphics are shitty.
Oh, but also the one thing like Thor's belly was not good.
Thor's belly looked fake the whole time, and I wondered if that was. I almost wondered if that was on purpose. Did they do it like that because they thought it was even funnier? I don't think so, because every other element of the movie was so believable. The old makeup on him at the end.
On Captain America.
Yeah, was amazing.
Old.
Yeah, not Thor.
Old person makeup is a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Just about every movie I ever see it in, and I'm not even thinking about it, but it just looks fake. There's just something so plastic and off about it. You can tell. Every time someone in real life has tried to put makeup on and be fat or old or whatever, I can always tell immediately, even if I just walk in the room.
Dude, I didn't even know who they were talking to at first. Like, who is that? Why does that guy look familiar? Who is that? Yeah.
But anyway, it's just so good and so phenomenal. I've got to cheer them for how good that makeup.
And it's Marvel in general, but the Russo brothers have handled it way better than really anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, because look, Captain Marvel came out, Ant-Man versus the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp, or versus the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp was not my favorite Marvel movie. Captain Marvel was not my favorite Marvel movie.
But it did set up the mechanic, the big mechanic in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the whole movie's based on.
And they handled it. It was really well done. No matter whether you liked the movie or not, and this is where I land on it. I thought it was a great movie. I didn't spooge all over the place the way Brad did here on our little sticky thing when he saw it, but
dude,
it was a great movie. It's a very well made movie, solid.
It's like
there's not a whole lot of complaints to it.
I got to tell you, between you got Infinity War and then you got Endgame. Between those two and the King of Monsters coming out, Godzilla King of Monsters, I mean, it's my childhood dreams come true. I mean, the whole reason I became a filmmaker is because I would see movies and I would see, superhero movies or whatever, or they would just, they'd have the promise of being this, that it could be great, but then they would just screw it all up and wouldn't do it right. And then in my head, I'm like, just do it like this. Why'd you do that? You just, and it's so awesome to finally see that, look, you can.
There are people out there who will respect the text, the original text, and tweak it, change it. They
don't have to copy exactly what happened. They can tell their own
essence.
story.
Give us the essence.
Right.
And I don't know anything about the comic books. I really don't. I don't really know much about Godzilla. All I know about Godzilla is that, like, in the 50s, there were the Godzilla, And I know that the 2000 Godzilla wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I know that as a non-Godzilla fan. I can watch that movie and go, you guys shot all over this thing.
It's basically Jurassic Park. They were trying to...
But the reboot of Godzilla, I know we complain about I complain about reboots all the time, sequels and reboots. But when they reboot it and it came off great, I can be enthusiastic about that because I really liked that first first part of this strand of Godzilla's. That was great. It was great.
It's funny because after Shazam, I was in this really low part, and I'm like, man, I don't know.
I'm with you, Bekemeyer. I don't know if I
don't think I can enjoy another superhero movie again, or it just, because but now I'm back to, because every time when I see more of the Godzilla King of Monster trailer, and the more I hear about it, and then Endgame was done, just all the stuff that's been in my head, like, you should do this, you should do that, blah, blah, blah. And then to see it and it's treated correctly, it just makes me so excited that, you know what? King of Monsters might actually be awesome because look at it. I might get to enjoy it and not have to nitpick it.
That trailer looks great, and the second trailer looks great for that and I love the fact that they use somewhere over the rainbow and this like whatever little thing, and then they have the really loud booms, but over the top of it is like this delicate somewhere over the rainbow. It's so contrasting that it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Plus, it's got the girl that plays 11 in it from Stranger Things, and I actually love her as an actor. I think she and I've seen her in interviews, and I love her as a person. Like, she's just a cool kid. Mm-hmm. And I hope the movie doesn't suck so that she can, have some success. So, dude, another one of my favorite moments from Endgame was the Nebula conflict, where old Nebula and new Nebula.
Right.
And old Nebula can't imagine a world where she would have betrayed her father. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that part where the old school Nebula came in and saw what was going on and then fucked it up for new school Nebula, and the thing there was interesting to me because they're both as smart as they ever were. They can't outsmart each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was a scene where Captain America fought himself also. that I thought was great because Captain America, Captain America can't beat himself.
That is America's ass.
That is America's ass, yeah. And but it was interesting because both were right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nebula was being loyal to her father, who had enslaved her and treated her like shit over all these years, but she was being loyal to her master, basically. And New Nebula was trying to fight against it, but they were both right about themselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was interesting conflict. It was an interesting conflict.
Yeah.
I also liked when Star-Lord saw Gamora again, and she kneed him in the balls, and said, he said, "You missed the first time, but that second time you got both of them right there."
Yeah.
But again, he's one of my favorite Marvel characters, and he's hardly in the movie. Out of a 3-hour movie, he's barely there.
He gets to dance a little bit, gets knocked out.
Yeah.
And then gets kneed in the balls, and then has that good
And
line.
I love the fact that it's like they're watching him, and they're like, "So he's an idiot," and she's like, "Yeah," because when he was dancing around, things like, "So he's an idiot." Yeah, it's funny, and he's barely in there. Scarlet Witch is barely in there. Like the people that they were rescuing and saving, it's weird because they really, out of a 3-hour movie, they were only there for like maybe 20 or 30 minutes of that. And that's all the other characters. So like Star-Lord's back, but he's only back for 20 or 30 minutes, but you only see him a couple of times. Same thing with Spider-Man. Spider-Man does badass shit in that battle against the Thing with like, what was that thing called? What's it?
Iron Spider.
Iron Spider.
By the way, I didn't get to say it before, but one of my favorite moments of the movie, I just been jonesing for Iron Spider. Because they introduced it, but you didn't really get to see him do anything with it, and I was just like, and then I played the game, and you can actually get the Iron Spider as a costume, but it doesn't do anything. You don't get to fight with them. It just so I've just been disappointed. And then, yes, he was just kicking ass
That's cool
with
stuff,
it.
yeah.
And I just loved, thank you, Professor Hulk, Iron Spider, all of it. I never thought as a kid that I would. By the way, I just want to say real quick, one of the reasons why I'm making the point about movies being able to just go beyond your imagination now to actually go beyond what you thought you could be possible. When I was growing up, animes and stuff, and there's these big mecha. How we got kaiju, those big Guillermo del Toro with the Pacific Rim, and all that stuff. When I was a kid, there was a movie called Robot Jocks, where we go to watch these things, and then it's just like claymation and little toys and made to look big. Mm-hmm. And so I'm this little kid with this imagination and I'm just seeing, I get excited and then I see shit. So I just got jaded growing up because it was always, even as we started getting 3D.
You were so jaded it stunted your growth.
Yeah, see? I just gave up. But, Terminator came out, we had those graphics, and then I started thinking, oh, guess what? Now we can do movies.
Guess what?
It still took like 20 years after that, so it's just, I think it's a great time to be a movie lover and a filmmaker.
As long as you like Marvel movies, because that's all that's ever going to come out.
Yeah, because DC, except for Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
I just mean superhero franchise films, because that's all we're really going to see at the movie theater. 2 really emotional spots in this movie that I thought jumped out.
I teared up.
There's 3,
by
actually.
The way.
And I was about to talk about that too. I started to feel them surge just a little bit. And I'm saying, you don't cry at comic book movies. And I didn't cry. And I'm of course not embarrassed to cry because I talk about it crying about.
Yeah, not wah cry, but tears welled up.
But the first moment that I thought was great. It's great. Again, we had great Tony Stark moments in this movie. Where in the past batch of films, we haven't really seen a lot of him. I've complained about that. But when he sees Peter Parker again, and he stops right in the middle of the battle of the bulge to hug the guy, and he's like, and Spider-Man's like, you remember that time when I was there and I felt sick and then I turned into dust? I got all dusty.
Then I woke up and Doctor Strange was there and said, "Oh, we gotta go fight now." And,
right. So the other moment that I thought was great for Tony Stark is where he had a conversation with Doctor Strange, where he's like, "You said you saw every version of this, and there's only one version that worked, right? Like, is that what we're doing here?" And he's like, "Well, if I told you, it wouldn't happen." So then he's like, "Well, thanks for speaking in riddles, fucker."
Yeah, but also he was like, "Thanks for confirming."
Yeah.
Because it was a confirmation of, yes, this is.
And then when Tony Stark finally got the thing and for some reason automatically had an Iron Man gauntlet thing built into his suit, he's always got...
No, it's just nano. He made the nano
Oh,
things.
he made nano, like somewhere, like what?
Just like Quantum. Apparently, when you got nano machines, you can just fucking do it. You just think it, and they do it.
He's wearing the thing, and he looks like in the middle of the battlefield. He looks up at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange looks at him, and in that moment, you can tell that that's what Doctor Strange knew about the whole time. Right before he snaps,
right,
and it nearly, the gauntlet thing nearly kills. I mean, it actually does kill Tony Stark, but he went out. That is one of my favorite main characters dying in a movie moments, because he didn't just accidentally die in the middle of the thing. He killed himself. Like he jumped on the grenade. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was such a really unexpected, because you're sitting there watching him about to snap, and you're like, don't do that. You're going to die. Because it killed it nearly killed the Hulk. You know? The Hulk's arm is like, he's got like a gimpy arm now, because, and it nearly killed Thanos, who for some reason is like all powerful even without the stones.
Yeah, by the way, he is a offshoot. He's basically the child of gods.
Okay.
I went and watched a YouTube thing last night.
What god has a nutsack on his chin?
Well, that's a mutant thing. You know how there's all of us humans, most of us are normal, but then there are mutants. Mm-hmm. So most of the kids of the gods were normal. Mm-hmm. I think they're called the Eternals. But he had a mutant gene thing, and so anyway, he came into the situation being powerful.
Yeah, okay. Thanos is basically a god.
Yes.
And the gauntlet nearly killed him. It's definitely going to kill Tony Stark. You know that as soon as he snaps, he's dead.
Yep.
They drew it out a little bit, but it sucked all his energy out of him. Anyway, that moment where they look at each other right before he snaps was fucking great. You're just like...
Doctor Strange puts his finger up with the one.
Yeah.
Kind of saying, all right, go for it.
This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one thing. Yeah, and it's like... In that moment, they both knew. They also, and it gives us a moment to go, I felt myself going, don't do that. Don't come up with something else. You know what I mean? Put it on the Hulk's, put it on the Hulk's left hand and let him snap, something like that. But it's so suspenseful and edge of your seat worthy. After at that point, the movie's been going for maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes, because they have a nice 15-minute relaxing conclusion, not conclusion.
It
epilogues.
Felt like Lord of the Rings at that point.
Little epilogues where we kept having some
say goodbye to everybody.
Resolutions. That's the word I was looking for. But in that moment, the fact that the conclusion to the movie was so simple, like that right there, like the conclusion to this whole big thing is like one man snapping, and
it's like they make the wish and say what it is and then snap the finger
and it was so simple in the middle of this massive battle scene going on, and then he just like that. It was so delicate and well done, and a great character moment for a guy who really has been at times very unlikable. That character has been very unlikable and contrary. And
it especially
really antagonistic because
Yeah.
there were points where he was like, I'm not doing this. Like, even not just in this movie, but in previous movies, even Civil War, where he was like wanting to, where he felt bad about this thing that happened in
Ultron.
In Ultron, and he was like in Civil War where they're talking about putting regulations on the Avengers, and he was all in, and Captain America was. I mean, he's basically in a way he was very unlikable throughout some of these movies. But you never didn't like him because you knew that he was also right. He's right. Captain America is right. They were both right. But I loved that moment. I loved the one, and I loved the snap, and it was so like just the bottom falling out in such a simple way. Just like when Thanos snapped his finger in Infinity War, you're like, no, and
which, by the way, that it was also great leading up to that moment where Thanos had the glove and wasn't aware of the nanomachine thing, and thought and when I watched it, the whole audience went, oh, "No!" I mean, just everyone. Yes.
Because when he snaps, you're like, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the stones were gone, and then you had
How did he get the stones off of them?
Man, you saw the nanomachine.
But how did he get the stones out of there?
Because the other glove was made of nanomachines that remember how it got bigger to fit Hulk? Yeah, so it's just all nanomachines.
So they reached out and grabbed the stones?
Yeah. You don't want to start getting logical about it because how the hell is he controlling it with his brain?
Yeah.
He just thinks of it and he's not pressing a button and nanomachines go. So how is he doing it with his brain? I don't know.
Yeah.
I want you reminded me of a couple of my favorite scenes. Okay. I just want to jump on real quick. First when Thor's in the past and he grabs his hammer from the past, and then at first I'm thinking, oh no, if he takes that, then he won't have the none. But
Back to the Future logic, right there.
Right, but we've got multiple timelines here. They're creating a new timeline. But the thought they planted the seed, and I'm like, dude, he's got 2 freaking hammer axe things. And then when the moment comes and his eyes lit up and he's got the 2 things, and then you add on top of that freaking Captain America.
Captain America, yeah.
He kicks Thanos' ass more than anyone I saw in Infinity War. Yeah. Like throughout the whole thing, he just kicked the shit. When
all of them go back to their storylines and they grab the Infinity Stones from those moments,
what happened to
you could have a whole next 10 years of Marvel films that deal with those altered timelines from that moment, and you're really still just dealing with the same subject matter, the same material. Yeah. I don't think that that's what they'll do because there's so many of them that are like Captain America and Tony Stark. They're all they're signed off now,
right?
But so that is the way, like where they go and they create the alternate timeline by stealing the stone out of that particular timeline. Yeah. The offshoots. That could be interesting.
Well, supposedly Captain America put them all back. They sent him back.
Right. He did put them all back. Right.
But
that's true.
Little things were changed while they were in the past.
Like Captain America stayed old.
Stealing the staff and then all of that. Yeah.
And the hammer. When Thor stole his own hammer from himself. That messes up that timeline.
They didn't show it. Well, he had to have. Yeah, I have to assume that he did the same thing with the hammer that they did with the gems. That the idea was to return them at the same time that they took them away, so it was never gone.
He didn't have the hammer with him when he went back in time. I don't think.
Did Captain America take the hammer? I think when he went back, he had... Actually, when he went back in time, he had the hammer. I saw it when I saw it the second time.
So he's standing there in the new... Okay.
He had the hammer when he went back to return the stones.
Okay.
I'm assuming he returned it.
He put it back. Yeah,
because he didn't have it when he was old.
So what else? What were your other?
Just everything at the battle. Dude.
Spider-Man. Thor wielding. Is it wielding or yielding?
Dual wielding.
Dual wielding the axe and the hammer was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to throw it out there, and Captain America can grab it and beat some ass with it, and then like they were like throwing it out and like catching like boomerang.
Used it so Spider-Man could grab onto it to get out of that situation.
Was some of the best version of Avengers working together to make it all happen.
All that team up shit, like doing the lightning into the new nano Iron Man suit thing, and then did we talk about the girl power?
No, you mentioned it, but you didn't talk about it.
It was epic, dude. Freaking pots, iron pots. Is that what
Iron
we would
pots?
call it?
Is that Iron Woman? Is that what you called Iron Woman?
Yeah.
She's Iron Woman.
Yeah.
In the comic books, there's someone called Iron Woman.
It should be Iron Woman. I was thinking they can't go. They couldn't call her Iron Girl because we're empowered now. It has to be Iron Woman.
But I didn't even know who that was. I was like, "Who is that?"
Even though they had the whole scene with the girl, and he said, "I
didn't remember or think about that when I was first. I was like, "Who is that strange face?" It's like, it makes sense what they were talking about because if you don't hear Tony Stark say at the very beginning where he says, "Your mom never makes anything that I wear. No, she never wears anything that I make." Like, if you don't hear that and really think about it for a second, he's making her a costume, a suit. It doesn't make sense.
But they did kind of, in Iron Man 3, she kicked ass in the Iron Man suit.
I forgot about that. I can't remember. I think she did, but
she went all Lava Girl, and I could have swore before she went Lava Girl, she flew in an iron suit. Anyway... It was awesome.
Yeah,
love the whole
great.
thing.
I'm going to see it again tomorrow with my daughter.
It might not be my second favorite movie of all time. It has to, but I have to think that it's got to be up there in the top 5 of all time.
It is a massive epic, and it's entertaining, and it never really gets... I never got bored. So when I say I wasn't wowed by it, there were wowing moments in it, but my mind wasn't blown.
You weren't blown like us, we nerds.
Right, but I don't want that to sound like it's that I didn't like it, because I did like it very much. I was entertained for 3 hours, and only a couple of times had eyebrows raised. You know what I mean? Like the thing with the gauntlet with Tony Stark getting the gems, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Really?
There were a lot of things that you got to think about it for a second. Yeah.
But I thought it was great. So, are we done? We're done?
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't want to say goodbye. He even wanted to do a 2-hour episode today.
Yeah, I just thought of another thing.
What?
Yeah, it's just amazing.
What?
No, I don't need to talk about it. It just... I just love the way everyone does what they would do. When Captain Marvel was kicking the crap out of him, and... Wait. No. I think it was your girl. The one you talked about. Scarlet Witch. Mm-hmm. Was tearing him a new one. And it looked like he was going to lose right then and there. Mm-hmm. And he said, just bomb the entire place. He said, what about our soldiers? It's where he got nervous. It was the first time we have seen Thanos get nervous, ever. It's just another one of those moments that in the past, up until recently, if you're watching a movie and in your mind you're thinking, well, just throw the missiles, in reality, Thanos would just bomb the whole place. They just do all those things that they would do. Yeah. But in the past, writing has gotten so much better. Yeah. Thank God. I think that's ultimately what I'm getting at. Yeah. In the past, they would never dare to do all this shit. Yeah. So because it's too destructive to the characters and the timeline, and right. It takes too much effort to write or think about it. Yeah. I don't know. So I could say we loved it. You loved it on a different level. I'm anxious to hear your second time through analysis. Yeah. If you saw this movie and hate it, I would like to talk to somebody who didn't like it and to see what they didn't like about it. Yeah. By the way, no matter, even though we're going to be on hiatus, email us, get us on Facebook. I'm still going to be posting to Facebook. Yeah. We're still going to be around, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to take some time off, and we're going to go try to make another movie. And
a couple of short films.
A couple short films and stuff. Yeah, I've got 2 or 3 short films I want to do.
I got one that I got to tell you about.
Yeah, so, but until we return, which will be some point indefinitely, we will see you at the movies.
Yeah,
and
well,
by the way,
won't because...
I want to say, I do want to say that doing this show to this point, we're going to call this, Brad was saying we should call this like a season finale.
Yeah.
So doing the show up until this point has been a lot of fun. I've never had more fun podcasting. I enjoy doing our show Film Reverie, but it's more like a labor of love for me, Film Reverie. Mm-hmm. So where we're talking serious business about making movies and stuff like that. This has been just fun because it's literally just talking about going to the movies.
Screwing around.
Yeah. And even though I hated probably 3/4 of the movies that we saw and reviewed, I don't want that. I never wanted that to come off like I didn't enjoy myself, because I love going to the movies, whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. I like being in a movie theater. So I'm just... it sucks sometimes when the actual reason you're in the theater is a shitty thing. Yeah.
And even though it may be fun for the people listening when we're bitching about a movie, it's not necessarily fun for us to bitch about almost every movie. Yeah. So we're gonna, hopefully when we come back, we're just gonna be all like, let's have fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this time. Until we meet again, we'll see you at the movies.
Soon, later, eventually.
You're going to say...
Stay tuned? I don't know. What am I going to say?
You're supposed to say to be continued, I thought was your thing.
Oh, yeah, because it is to be continued.
Yeah.
To be continued!
Movieisms is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Bekemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you'd like to find out more, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you click like on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/movieisms. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review in iTunes. It only takes a minute, and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see you at the movies.